Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to a Wednesday edition of the Humanity Matters Weekly. I am your host, Dr. Philip Fletcher. And man, if you are living anywhere in the South, especially here in Arkansas, Texas, snow, like across the United States, it's snow and been pretty much tied down in the house, been able to get out a little bit in the Jeep, been able to help people with some rides and things like that, and get the princess to work a couple of times, right? But either way, hope everybody is being safe, that you are paying attention to your power usage and keeping them faucets dripped. Remember, keep them faucets dripped and keep your cabinet doors open. Get some warmth on those pipes so they don't freeze and you have a bigger problem on your hands. So much love and prayers to everybody during this time. Hey, we're going to make it through this, especially if we live in Arkansas. It's supposed to be like 60 degrees this coming Monday. Wow. The snow apocalypse, and then everything is peachy keen again. So either way, I hope you are safe and sound. And so, as always, connect with me at my website, philipfletcher.org, philipfletcher.org. Also, this is broadcasting live over on YouTube. And so, please do me a favor. Go over there and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Just look up Philip D. Fletcher. I would greatly appreciate it. Just takes a minute. Actually, it'll take a second. Just hit that subscribe button. I would greatly appreciate it. The more subscribers I've got, then I'll be able to earn an extra few dollars and all that kind of good stuff. Hey, got a new episode that just dropped for the Humanity Matters podcast. So if you're on anchor.fm or wherever you get your podcast content, hey, find the Humanity Matters podcast, subscribe to it, whether you're on Apple or Google or Spotify or any of those places. I would greatly appreciate it. Hey, show me some love. This week, be talking about how to move from incivility and indecency here in 2021. And so I'm hopeful that I can add some value to your life so that you can flourish as a human being. I'm always looking for sponsors. Hey, if you want to advertise your business, anything like that, do a short 30-second video, hey, hit me up. pfletcher73@gmail.com. pfletcher73@gmail.com. That's PayPal. Helps me to get some cool stuff to do this little hobby that I'm doing. And then finally, if you've got a question for the mailbag, which happens on Sundays, send me an email, humanitymatterspodcast@gmail.com, humanitymatterspodcast@gmail.com. And so upcoming, got some great interviews coming up. This coming Sunday is Rachel Ferguson, and she is the director of the Liberty and Ethics Center at the Hammond Institute. I'm looking forward to talking with her in our Humanity Matters one-on-one discussion. And so that's going to be at 5 p.m. And if you want to be a part of that, just jump on in. All right. And then our friend Spike Cohen on March 14th, that will be a Sunday as well at 5 p.m., be interviewing the former 2020 vice presidential candidate. So it'll be a great time to learn about libertarianism, his lessons learned about running for public office. Hey, that may inspire you to want to run for public office. And so be looking forward to those. And also on Sunday, February 28th, Martha Bueno, she is the Hispanic director for Libertarians in Miami, Florida. All right. See a pattern here, trying to educate people. But either way, I want to bring all types of persuasions on this show. She will be with us on Sunday, February 28th at 5 p.m. So be looking forward to that. So let's get right into this. My friend, President Joe Biden. So let me set the stage, right? So I said that when he raised his right hand and became the 46th president of the United States, that I was going to hold him accountable, him and the vice president, Kamala Harris, accountable the same way Trump, former President Donald Trump, former Vice President Mike Pence, right? Equal opportunity, right? He won the election, got it. He won it. We still got to be held accountable. That's what we got to do. We got to hold our leaders accountable, whether at the federal level, the state level, county, city level, the dog catcher, if you will, the constable. Hold them all accountable. But either way, Joe Biden. So he had a town hall on CNN last night. And he was asked, various questions, obviously, COVID, all that kind of good stuff. And man, I feel like he put his foot in it. So, politics can bring out some very interesting statements from time to time, right? There's those good statements, those statements that make you be like, whoa, he or she really motivated me to go and do something, or to be a part of something, or even in some cases stop something, right? So let's admit it, like politicians, they can offer some good analysis and prescriptions on things that are going on in our country and all the way down to our local level. And then there's sometimes even the most seasoned candidate and politician, right? He or she subject to statements that make you be like, what did they just say? Did I hear what he or she just said? I mean, it's happened. It's happened to me. I mean, I'm not a politician or anything like that, but I've said stuff and I was like, oh man, shouldn't have said that. So I'm sympathetic to a degree with people when they've got to speak. Public speaking is a tough job, right? But either way, for Mr. Biden, President Joe Biden, right? So in this town hall, he was asked about COVID, all right? And in his response, he made a statement about Blacks and Latinos, especially those in rural and urban areas, that has made me went, right? And it feels like that this is this pattern of racial essentialism. Well, what do I mean, right? And I'm getting to the video, all right? So if you remember, while he was running for office back in 2020, he went on the show that's called The Breakfast Club, all right? And this was back in August. And he went on this show, and this is what he said. And I'm going to read it, quote, all right? And quote, Mr. Biden stated, well, I tell you what, if you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, then you ain't black. Close quote. All right. And you're like, ugh. And then he said this about Latinos. This was in August. All right. He said this: unlike the African-American community, with notable exceptions, the Latino community is incredibly diverse community with incredibly diverse attitudes about different things. Biden continues on to say, and I quote, you go to Florida, you find a very different attitude about immigration than you do in Arizona. So it's a very diverse community. All right. So with Mr. Biden, there's this thing called racial essentialism. All right. And essentially, racial essentialism is this. And so Stubblefield defines it this way. All right. So bear with me here. Okay. Because I'm going somewhere. Stubblefield describes a person with, quote, essentialist conceptions of race holds that the characteristics of physical appearance referred to by racial terms are indicative of more profound characteristics of personality, inclinations, culture, heritage, cognitive abilities, or natural talents, close quote. So when I see person A and assign them to a group, right? So you see me and you see my skin color, right? You assign me to a group, Black people, right? Or African Americans, or whatever distinction people typically use, all right? That begins a process actually of depersonalization. You're moving me from my unique, remarkable position as an individual to just this mass, right? Where more and more of my individuality is done away with because I've been put in this mass. And so if you run into me and I step outside of what you know of the mass, you kind of look with curiosity. All right. So the group defines the individual instead of the individual being a standalone person. All right. So it is what it is. So it has its consequences, racial essentialism, right? So we're going to listen to or watch actually President Biden in his response to COVID-19 and is dealing with accessing the internet.
A lot of people don't know how to register. Not everybody in the community, in the Hispanic and the African American community, particularly in rural areas that are distant and or inner city districts, know how to get online to determine how to get in line for that COVID vaccination at the Walgreens or at the particular store.
All righty. So, Mr. Biden speaking specifically about Latinos and Black Americans. All right. My feed has slowed down. Okay. So give it a minute to catch up here. All right. Sorry for technical difficulty. So, Mr. Biden speaking about Latinos and Blacks who live here in America, right? He's saying that those individuals, persons who look like me, right, or who look Latino, lack the, I don't know what, the ability, the skill, the cognition, right? I'm trying to, again, remember Stubblefield's definition on how to access the internet. Now, this is crazy, right? Because we've been in a year where schools have been closed. A lot of virtual learning has happened, right? And kids, Black and Latino and white and Asian, they've had to access the internet as well to do their schoolwork. But Mr. Biden is saying in this town hall, and he's saying it publicly, like Latinos and Blacks who live in urbans and in rural areas, like do not have the skill, the capability to access the internet, which is shocking, and then navigate whatever site it is to figure out where to go to get specifically a vaccine. And I'm like, President Biden, how many times are we going to do this, man? Like, for real. Like, how many times are we going to do this? How many times does it seem like that I wonder how he views Blacks and Latinos, right? So apparently Blacks helped get him over the hump so that he could become the 46th president of the United States, right? Blacks were like, hey, you got to remember us when you get in the White House. You got to remember us because we helped you get in the White House, okay? Stacey Abrams, right? You know, she was new Black girl magic from Georgia to help win those two Senate seats. But he carries this thought in his head. He demonstrated it on the Breakfast Club. He demonstrated again in another interview speaking about Latinos. All right. So with the Breakfast Club, if you don't vote for him, you're not black. So there's an example of racial essentialism. Two, that there is too much diversity in the Latino community in regards to immigration. He again demonstrates racial essentialism. And now he puts both groups together and makes it appear as if these individuals lack the capacity. I'm going to be very generous here, that men and women of Latino, African descent lack the capacity to navigate and figure out the internet as it relates to getting a vaccine. But what has happened to them with all the other things that we've got to do to access the internet to navigate whatever, school, filling out an application, maybe a rental application, applying for a job, those types of things. I think what really got to me is this is it's got me to ask, like, how do well-meaning people view persons who are Black and Latino in America? Are we viewed as people who constantly need saving? Are we people who are viewed, okay, as needing somebody to come in with a cape, all right, them coming tell us, oh, you lack the variety of skills or capacity to do these things, and so we're going to do these things to help poor you, because nobody else ever gets singled out. Have you noticed that? Asians don't get talked about like this. Poor whites or whites don't get talked about like this. It is Blacks and Latinos, right? Case in point. So Axios put out a article, all right, and they are talking about Walgreens and Uber joining forces. And this came out on February 9th, 2021, all right? And for them, the headline is that they joined forces to address barriers to COVID-19 vaccine equity. Okay, so equity, it's a new term. All right, we're looking at equity is equal outcomes, essentially. Okay, so what they want to do is help with transportation. And again, they're only singling out persons of color. Now, I got it. Persons of color, they've been hit by COVID-19. There's a very variety of reasons why that is, right? But nonetheless, again, who is the poster child for suffering? Who is the poster child for oppression and injustice? Who is the poster child for this? It's people that look like me. And again, it asks me to wonder, well, how have these individuals been accessing transportation up to this point? Many of the large cities have public transportation. Obviously, Uber, Lyft, they're they're worldwide, okay? But I at least know they're nationwide. Again, so not only the president of the United States, I ask myself, how do you look at persons that look like me, or persons that look like men and women who come from Mexico or from Central America or South America? But now I have to ask myself, well, how do companies look at men and women like us? It's something to think about, and it can become frustrating, right? Because if we're looking at groups, okay, these groups have made a lot of progress over the decades, all right? For whatever reason, they're well-meaning people, for whatever reason, just shy away and don't want to talk about the progress, just like there are other people that don't want to talk about, there's some problems that we still need to address. racial essentialism is not a helpful thing. It depersonalizes. Again, you are looking at an individual, and because of specific physical characteristics, you put them in a group instead of looking at each one of those individuals and judging him or her on their own merits. Sounds familiar? Somebody said that back in the 60s. You know, there was a Pew Research Journal research that came out, and it looked at this whole idea of racial essentialism, right? So in this Pew Research study conducted between June 16th and the 22nd of 2020 regarding voting during the COVID-19 pandemic, when asked if election rules were changed to make it easier to register to vote, would it affect election security? 27% of Blacks responded less secure, 70% responded not any less secure. 1 month prior to the death of George Floyd, a study was conducted regarding confidence in the police force. 16% of Blacks had a great deal of confidence, and 41% of Blacks had a fair amount of confidence. I bring up those studies to show not everybody thinks the same. Not a whole group is not experiencing the same thing. So I say to Mr. Biden, I think you would be surprised concerning the number of individuals whom you singled out, Blacks and Latinos, in these rural and urban areas who know how to access the internet and navigate the internet to do a host of things, not just on a desktop computer or on a laptop, but also on their phones. Mr. Biden, do you know the number of kids in these type communities that can just do some amazing things on a phone with videos, TikToks and Snapchats and all that kind of stuff, and be able to do their work on a phone? I've seen it firsthand. Now, can access to the equipment to do those things, can that be improved in some of these areas? Well, yeah, sure. I agree with you. Arkansas has got a long way to go to improve access, broadband in regards to the internet. But that does not mean said individual does not know how to use that equipment once they are given access to it. That's two different things. My access to actually using the equipment versus my knowledge and skill to use the equipment is two different things. All right. So I would have been with Mr. Biden if he talked about the physical access to the equipment. But no, he talked about not having the capacity to use the equipment. That's insulting. That's insulting. And again, this is not the first time that this has happened. So, what can we learn from this? What is the benefits that can be obtained if President Biden would look more to seeing us as individuals first more than a group? What benefit is it to you to look at me as an individual first and not as just a cell of a mass of persons, right? Well, I'll tell you this. We want to avoid what Stubblefield identifies as practicing the problem of labeling and the problem of truth. So on the latter, the truth is just because I have a particular phenotypic trait, all right, does not mean I walk in lockstep with those who look like me. And there's nothing wrong with that. And the second thing is this, is that labeling, what that necessitates is that individuals making decisions off of a set of assumptions, which may actually not be true. So when you see me and you judge me on the basis of my physical traits, and then you label me in a particular way, that is not going to be based in, that may more than likely not be based in truth. So what do you got to do? You got to get to know me. You get to know me. You'll get to understand more about my circumstance and who I am as a man, or who she is as a woman. And then from there, you'll be able to figure out how to appropriately respond if I have an issue that needs to be addressed. What is going on is you're looking at me on the basis of my skin color and just automatically assuming I am lacking something. And that's not fair to me. And it causes you to walk in an untruth. And what that does to me is that depersonalizes me. So we should pursue activities. We should conduct ourselves in a way, right, where it honors the individual. So in the case of President Biden, I would hope in the future, and I'm speaking to all you politicians, right? Look at the individual. Like, get out of your office, get off of your whatever you're doing, the lobbyists that you may be meeting with, and get to actually know individual people. And I think what you'll find is this, that there is so much difference that is occurring within that particular group that you're seeking to learn about. And I believe that will help you in your policy making, how you're going to vote, and actually say some things that may actually take you away from what your other peers in your particular political party are believing in how they may vote. You may actually find common ground with somebody on the other side. So hopefully here in 2021, we'll have politicians, right? Because there's no elections going on right now, who will be able to demonstrate what it is to judge a man or a woman on the basis of who they are as an individual, right? And not on the basis of who they look like. All right. It's like, we got to just keep talking about this and drilling this home and drilling this home and drilling this home. So, hey, that's my reaction to Mr. Biden, President Joe Biden. All right. On tonight, it is Wednesday. So again, hey, be looking out for this Sunday, because I will be sitting down with Miss Rachel Ferguson. That's going to be at 5 p.m. All right, so looking forward to that, and talking to this highly capable and intelligent director of the Liberty and Ethics Center of the Hammond Institute. And then on February 28th, I will be sitting down one-on-one with Martha Bueno, director of Libertarianism for Hispanics down in Miami, Florida. And then on March 14th, 5 p.m. as well, be sitting down one-on-one with Spike Cohen. And that should be a great interview with him. So, as always, remember to be loved, to be kind, to be generous. Remember to stay warm. Remember to keep those faucets dripping. Keep those cabinets down there open. If you don't need to go out, don't go out, especially live here in Arkansas. Just remain safe. You know, eat some popcorn, catch up on some movies, things like that. Do your work at home. We've had to practice anyway, right? So, hey, what's a couple of more days? And as always, you remember to live in hope. We can do the impossible. Y'all take care, and God bless.